Namaste and welcome to all on this next session on series on man management. Let us start the session with our prayer. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Dear friends, this is the third part of the introduction to the man management. And I would like to state that I'm making a very humble attempt to introduce a very important topic from a practical business approach, which our master Sri Satya Sai Baba gave it to all of us. This is one of the tools and a very important one, which not only helps us in the business, in our professional life, but implementing it, it helps in synergizing and complementing our life purpose with our work. We spend most of our waking time in professional activities. We go to work for almost 8 to 10 hours, and we are constantly engaged into these activities even in our holidays. So professional world, which actually feeds our living, has a great influence on our life too. So unless and until we learn the synergy, we understand how they can complement each other and how working as a profession or doing business or doing any kind of professional work also supplements and complements our life journey and helps us to arrive at the goal of our life. Till then, we will always be in the challenge to find fulfillment. Life will always sound very draining. We'll be always chasing life. And the reason for that is very simple, is because we think that life is different and whatever activities we do for living is different. And hence the chase is, how do we make time for things? And that is where the new concepts, many concepts come into play, like life and work balance. People are getting drained out, burnout. All these concepts come out because we have not understood the link between our various roles and activities that one has to play and life, the purpose of life. Only when we know the conduit, the connection between all our activities, then we find the purpose of living. And it complements the purpose of life. Man management is one concept which I personally have implemented and tried it out. And I find it has not only helped me and help all the clients of mine to improve on their professional development, the growth, and find fulfillment in their task and arrive at commercial benefits, but at the same time has helped every employee in that system to find fulfillment in their life. With this humble attempt, with this humble ambition or a desire, I am sharing these basic concepts with all of you. Obviously, these sessions are not uh, created to go into depth, and for that, I'm planning to call any one of you are interested in different industries to come forward and have a group session or a group discussion session to really go into each section separately. So my attempt here is to give you a broad outlook understanding of how one should approach professional life, how one should look at the priorities of professional world, and which helps you to complement. In that connection, today I will we'll move forward to look at various other things, but let me just quickly refresh what we have discussed so far. So that way, at least we'll be at page with what has happened in the previous time. So as you have seen, we understood the management as a man manager, the whole concept of management or looking at the business perspective or a professional life is hidden in these 7 letters of manager. And we discussed in our 2 sessions all these 7 aspects, which was mind of man, awareness of Atma or spirit, nature of nations, aspect of environment, guidelines of goodness, inquiry into ethos, and role of rules. Through these 7 elements, these are such a powerful combinations. Through these 7 facets, we can approach any aspect of our business or our profession and integrate it with our life. And that is important. So, where we have come, the more important factor of all of these elements is the human element. That the premise of whole concept is that if we understand human beings, then we understand the whole gamut of our professional life too. Because through professional approach, also what we are doing is we are taking care or serving the human beings. We are serving the creation, we are serving the people. So if everything is done for humans, and when I say humans, I'm including all the beings, then precisely if we know what is a human, who am I, then our approach towards business would also be different. The humanistic approach to business, the spiritualization of business will become a practical approach, will become a reality rather than just a philosophical statement. So today we'll look at it little bit more into what is this being that we talk about, me as a human being. Who am I? And this is a very important element because this will help us to understand. But as I move forward, I want to introduce you to one question, one thought, a concept called PariPrashna. It's a Vedic concept. It seems it was, I have explained this in a different sessions. It was given to us by in the Vedic times, but it was taken off by Socrates, and he promoted this approach. And I want to share this because now when we hear these kind of sessions or when we are into the introspective mode, I'm sure the new questions will arise. How to deal with the question and how to ask question itself is an art. And this is an approach which is called PariPrashna. PariPrashna is, in a simple manner, is qualifying your question. How do you qualify your question? That is PariPrashna. And what does qualifying the question mean? It's like saying before you ask a question, you should qualify whether the question is worthy of asking or not. Now, in English, we say that no question is stupid, you can ask. But honestly speaking, I feel questions can be stupid if we do not qualify them. Otherwise, why would you get annoyed if a person keeps asking questions which you think that he should not be asking? See, this one question which a child can ask and you don't mind it, but if the same question in the similar manner is asked by an adult, you will feel irritated. Why? Because we have a perception that, hey, this person should have qualified his question. It's such a basic question, why should he ask? I'll give you a very typical example, and just to throw you a perspective of how the question should be looked at. Say, for example, if a child says, Mom, tell me, or Dad, tell me, what is 3 minus 1? You would be very happy to engage with the child, even bring some props to show him that 3 minus 1 is 2, isn't it? But imagine if the same question is asked by an adult. Hey, ma'am, tell me, sir, tell me, what is 3 minus 1? You would, before you answer him 2, you would be looking at his face and saying, what is wrong with you? Why did we do that? Why didn't we take it as the same thing as a child and answered him as you felt was the correct answer? That question, when asked by an adult, seemed stupid because we expected the adult to qualify his question before asking. Now, this scenario may look simple, but let me twist it. Now, the same scenario, if asked from a spiritual perspective, the answers can be different. When a master asked the same question, what is 3 minus 1? And people naturally responded 2, the master said, no. In spirituality, 3 minus 1 is 1. And then he went on to explain it. He says, you, an object, second is the mirror, and the third is the reflection. So there are 3 elements, right? You, mirror, and the reflection. If I remove the mirror, what is left? The image also disappears as naturally, and what is left is you. So 1. So 3 minus 1 is 1. He says that mirror is Maya, is an illusion, is that concept. So that is spirituality. In spirituality, the mathematics is different. Now, when you look at it, now the question does not sound stupid, correct? Now the question looks like, wow, I never thought about it like that. And it becomes an enlightening experience to see how a spiritual being looks at life and how an ordinary person looks at a life. So the same question, when asked by a child, you felt okay. Asked by a normal adult, you felt stupid, that he is stupid, he's not qualifying. And when asked by a spiritual master, you felt you are stupid. So that is the reason why that question is same, but the response to the question became different. It is because we don't understand, or we have not learned this art of questioning ourselves, inquiring. So before I make a presumption that the person is stupid or the question is stupid, do I understand how to qualify the question? So qualifying the question is not only by the person asking, but also by the person who is expected to respond. So when I know the art of qualifying the question, then it works differently. Then I will look at life in a different manner. And that is the beauty of qualifying the question. Now, how do we do this qualifying the question? Qualifying the question basically is, in a simple way, before you ask the question, think. Ask it to yourself. If I have a question, before I present the question to XYZ, I should ask myself, And then look at it, that do I understand this? Maybe after a few thought and sometimes dedicated time on it, you may find that you have found an answer, but a new question has popped up. And this process will continue till you get stuck with a question which is truly bugging you or require attention. And when that happens, then if you ask a question, then even a question like 3 minus 1 by an adult will sound very genuine. People will pause to listen to you as to why did he ask that question, because we know that this person qualifies his question, but still he asked. That means he's trying to understand something different. So qualifying the question is very important. It will not only avoid various messes around, it will avoid tensions, it will avoid confusion, miscommunication, but it will save time and present solutions rather than problems. So qualifying the question, PariPrashna, is a very beautiful technique which every adult should learn, every parent and every teacher should teach to their children. Because this technique, once you learn, you will automatically train your mind to pause, think, and then act. And that is the key for qualifying the question. Now, when I say pause, think, and act, this is a very important tool. And I have, like, when I learned this to myself and I found it, I have been sharing it for the last 20 years now. And I find each time I think about it, it grows with me. Pause is not thinking, and thinking is not pause. We need to understand that before you start thinking, you have to pause. Now, how do we know that I have paused? Now, for that, I give you a little scenario. See, when I have a problem, it is easier for my neighbor to give me suggestions because the person is not involved. But for me, that involvement creates emotions, and my reaction would be full of my emotions and understanding. If my emotions are high, then even my thinking can get clouded, and I will not be able to decipher and understand things in a clear sense. If some unfortunate thing happens to my family, every neighbor can come and give me the full philosophy of life, how the life is immaterial and short-lived, and you shouldn't be concerned, you shouldn't be worried, you should not hold truth. But when it happens to each one, then the scene changes. Then I will go and give lectures there. So the same scenario happens everywhere. So why is it that when the thing happens to us, we forget, and when things happen to others, we remind them? So why can't we remind ourselves? It's because we get involved in the situation. We become part of the problem rather than solution. So this pause is that technique of not thinking, just pausing. It's like getting out of the scenario, looking at it from outside. So when we learn to look at things from outside, then we are pausing. And I'm repeating it again and again because this I find is very important for everything in life. Even to make decisions in life, one needs to pause. Because the moment we get involved in the problem, then our thinking gets clouded by the environment and by the situation. Whereas we lose the ability to objectively analyze it and remove the biases from the system. But once we learn to pause, then we are able to remove the bias and look at it from very objective. And then we are able to do PariPrashna. Then we can truly qualify. See, asking the question should be done with the humility. In Sanskrit, it is called Shraddhavan Lavate Jnanam. Only a person with surrender, dedication, and humility can or be a worthy recipient of knowledge. So the knowledge can be bestowed on a person who has these attributes of Shraddha, Unfortunately, there is no direct word for Shraddha in English. But yes, you can have the club, the combination of gratitude, humility, surrender, respect, all of that together is Shraddha. So the person must have that offering, that sense of dedication and surrender to receive the knowledge. So for that, again, one has to learn to pause, then to think. So only when you are able to pause, then your thinking will find solutions. Otherwise, thinking will get into the worrying space. And only after you have thought that actions would become worthy. So, keeping this premise in mind, this is also part of the master's teaching in man management. You got to understand the mind of man and then understand how to utilize it and how to think about it. So you have the PariPrashna qualifications. And now when I look at it, our human body, as we understand, constitutes of these three elements, what we call as body, mind, and spirit. That's all we talk about, right? This being. But we are not only that, but let's look at it in this manner. The body is made up of chemicals and biological elements. It has got bones, chemicals, calciums, marrows, all of that, which constitutes body. That we look at it a little bit more in specificity of how the body works. But there is an important element, mind. And we all understand that mind is of more importance, because even if you have the body, but if your mind is not functional properly, it won't supplement and it won't complement better. So you have these two elements, body and mind, which is very important. And then you have the third element of spirit, which kind of is still subtle. So because it is so subtle, that the importance is not there, that due importance is sometimes missing. And once we understand that these three breakups, we understand the importance is that if you want a fulfillment in your being, all the three must be complemented. If I only look at body and I don't feed anything to my mind and spirit, obviously I will never find the comfort, that satisfaction of living. But unfortunately, today we do most of the stuff for our body. Even the intellectual things which we do it with an intent to satisfy the body. We don't do it with an intent for satisfying and saturating our mind. So everything what we do in life, even if I read a book, I don't read the book for the joy of reading the book and acquiring knowledge. But I read the book that how this is going to help me to benefit in certain way. And the benefits are usually measured in a physical context. That can it help me to make money? Can it help me for promotion? Can it help me to get me more benefit, better comforts in life? So everything what we do gets really skewed towards the body element. How many of us really go to work for the joy of working? Very, very few, small percentage. How many of us study in the schools and colleges for the joy of learning, not with an eye onto a job or a next college? See, the whole game is to understand that we have these elements, and unless and until we look at ourselves in a comprehensive manner, we will never be able to satisfy and find fulfillment to ourselves. And let us look at it now. I want to really give you this understanding of our body. In our science, in a spiritual science, it is very beautifully explained that this being, what we are experiencing and what we usually see, has got five layers or sheaths, as they call. In Sanskrit, it is called koshas. Koshas is like a shell, think of it like a shell. So one is on top of another. So we have a five sheath covering us. And the beauty is these sheaths are from gross to subtle. So because we can see the grossness, so we understand and relate to our gross body. But there are subtler bodies, and if we go into them, then we look at it and understand what is our constitution, how are we made, and that is a key to understand. And once you understand that, then you will see the relevance of this in our day-to-day life. The way we approach life will suddenly start changing the moment we understand the secret of our koshas. So first kosha is called Annamaya kosha. Annamaya is, Anna is food, is basically whatever we intake through our five senses becomes the food for our gross body. So this gross body of five elements, the first element is Annamaya kosha. This body of Anna, this body of food, is made up of these five elements that I take. So this is called the gross body. So that is, you can touch, you can feel, you can smell, you can see. So all of this is possible when we look at Annamaya kosha. Now, at the same level, Annamaya kosha, inside that is what we call, next level is Pranamaya kosha, which is the life sheath. Now, this is a life breath. Pranamaya, prana is life. Pranamaya kosha is the sheath of life. Now, this is what normally, in our movie style, they call it like a ghost figure. It is exactly the physical body, but it has got no grossness. It travels at the speed of light, the speed of thought, I should say, and it has the same features and the same structuring of the physical body, but it is light. It's made up of sparks and lights, probably what we call as atom and molecules, high fluctuating molecules. That is called Manomaya kosha. Pranamaya kosha. This Pranamaya kosha is the life which actually makes the grosser body, the Annamaya kosha, alive, so to say. When we say the body is alive, it is because this kosha of prana is activating it. So that, because if you look at the five elements, it is almost like a dead element. But only when the life force enters this body, it becomes activated. And that is how you can differentiate between a live body and a dead body. If you see a dead body, it has all the elements. It has the eyes, nose, legs, heart, bones, everything is there. But why is it not active? It is because that next body has disappeared. So the second body is Pranamaya kosha. So once we understand this Pranamaya kosha, and then we know how to connect them, how to regulate it, how to enhance it, we complement our physical body. And that is how the Pranamaya kosha is very, very important to understand. Then from Pranamaya kosha, we go into Manomaya kosha. Manomaya kosha is a sheath of mind. As I said before in different sessions, that unfortunately we don't have, in English, it is difficult to classify. Man is not the mind which we understand in the normal sense. The mind has got a lot of, the spectrum of mind is too large. It has the connotation of cautiousness, being cautious, and consciousness. So consciousness, and conscious, all three layers are in the purview of mind. So this Manomaya kosha, the sheet of mind, is something like our chitta. It is the presence of that supreme spark, what we call as, and that is a reflective layer here, which actually is a conduit, if I may put it in that way. It is a very loose way of explaining that. It's a conduit between the Atmic principle, the cosmic consciousness, and the physical realm of life. So in the individual self and the cosmic self, this Manomaya kosha becomes the conduit. So this body is basically thoughts. It is the vibrational thoughts which we have accumulated over the centuries or lives of our births in different forms, the impressions that we have accumulated, or what we call vasanas or impulses, those are created onto this sheath, and this sheath is created that way. So it's called the mind, the manomaya shitha. And then comes vijnanamaya shitha. Vijnanamaya shitha, vijnana in literal translation becomes science, but technically speaking, it has nothing to do with the science as we understand. Vijnana is basically a metaphysical science, that this beyond science kind of a concept. So when we talk about this sheath of Vijnanamaya sheath, this is it is more subtler, and it is the impression of that supreme, that I-ness. I don't want to use the word ego, which will again translate into our physical ego, and that will confuse. So it is that I-ness which comes as an awareness into this limited being. So intellectual, that sheath, which we talk about, intellect sheath, Vijnanamaya Kosha, it is that awareness element which is actually holding the knowledge, which is actually holding the awareness through which the Manomaya Kosha gets reflection. And the Manomaya Kosha feeds into, Pranamaya Kosha and Annamaya Kosha, that mind sheath and the food sheath. So intellect is basically that I-ness, is that sheath of aham, that is Vijnanamaya Kosha. And once you cross this Vijnanamaya Kosha, then only we realize what is hidden inside is pure bliss. And that is actually the spark of divine which is hidden within us. And when we talk about that absolute I-ness, the absolute oneness, the absolute existence, as in Sanskrit they say Sat, Chit, and Ananda, that is that. So that sheath is, it is like, the atomic, that God particle, that is that God particle, the bliss sheath, sitting there quietly as if doing nothing, but it's the source which activates everything. So that becomes your bliss sheath. So that is the God particle sitting within us. And rest is only, if you may say, rest is just a reflection or a projection of that bliss sheath. So when I say that Sat Chit Ananda, as we say, truth, bliss, and consciousness, truth, consciousness, and bliss, as we explain Sat, Chit, and Ananda, that is an attribute of this bliss sheath. So that is why all these explanations, when we talk about who am I, they're all true, because at different levels of our conscious development. So when I am talking from the bliss sheath concept, when I have reached that experience of actual truth, what I am, then I can say I am Satchit Ananda, because now I relate myself to that absolute truth of my existence, of my being. And if I am in the gross level, then I say I am an Annamaya Kosha, because when I exist, I say my name is Abhimanyu, and I am man, I am so and so. Then identity is different. So it all depends on at which level of awareness and consciousness that we are, and that is how we relate to them. These 5 stages which are hiding us, this is what we need to penetrate through to understand. Unfortunately, what happens to us is, most of us, or most of our life, remains around Annamaya Kosha. We have not even experienced even Pranamaya Kosha properly. The prana which we do as a exercise of pranayam, nowadays it is becoming popular, it is still not enough, but at least we are touching upon it. But imagine going forward than that into Manomaya Kosha. If I have to say, out of 100 people, if 100 people are in Annamaya Kosha, then in Pranamaya Kosha, probably 10 to 15 people are there. And then from Pranamaya Kosha, if you go down to Manomaya Kosha, hardly two, three people. And that two, three also is an exception, constant remaining. And that is what our master says. So, and when I look at it and I think about it, I wonder, like, where we are and how much can we experience. And those of us who have this privilege of experiencing, spiritual joys with an association of a spiritual master, you can relate to the joy which I'm talking about. Because you can see a joy when you buy a new car, you can see a joy when you find, get married, or you find some new thing. But all these joys together also cannot be compared to the joy which a person gets in a spiritual sense, in a spiritual realm. That kick which we get at the feet of the master is something different. And that is the key to know how do we pass that. Because by the grace of the gurus, we are able to penetrate through these koshas, and by default, I would say, with not much of our effort, we are able to experience, different, our own self in a different light. We somehow forget our body consciousness. We are into a very zoned out place without taking any drugs, without having any external stimuli. So we don't lose our experience. We are intoxicated in that joy. And once you have experienced that, then only you can compare. It's like, an analogy which has been usually said that, uh, the tigers, when we say man-eater tiger, man-eater, because tiger, normally it seems they say that they don't hunt for humans. Unfortunately, when we interact with them in a wrong way and then we have an accident and they taste the blood, then the tiger becomes a man-eater, because it seems human blood is the most tasty. So when the tiger tastes human blood, then it doesn't like any other. And in that intoxication, it even comes to the habitation of humans to hunt for a human being. And he gets even killed for that. So that is how that intoxication should rise. So when you touch the flavor into Manomaya Kosha or Vijnanamaya Kosha or Anandamaya Kosha, even if you scratch it or touch it, that flavor, the abundance of love and joy is so intoxicating that then the physical joys and happiness do not hold that much grip on us. And the more and more we get attached to this realm of life, the more and more this hold becomes weaker and weaker. And then you are constantly into that Anandamaya Kosha. But this journey is important. And that is why I said first awareness of these five koshas is very critical. So if we understand that we are not this one being as we are looking at ourselves, even this physical being has got these five layers, then at least we have taken a step forward in terms of understanding our own self. At least we have moved forward to know that, my God, I have still to look at Pranamaya Kosha. Then I will go into Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. So unless and until at least I know, that is important also. So here is an attempt to at least give us an introduction to these five sheaths that is actually hiding my true identity. So as long as I say I'm the breath, I'm still stuck. Till a stage reaches when I find nothing but bliss in my life. When I can truly and rightfully say that I'm happy always, all the time. I've only heard my master say so. And now I try to say it. And that keeps me happy all the time. But I know for sure that that happiness which he enjoys and the happiness I enjoy is much different, because I'm yet to taste that. So we had a flavor, but to live in that state of joy and happiness is amazing. So at least if this can help us to understand how do we do that. And one of the ways of testing this out is, see, the more and more we lose our body consciousness and any act which makes us kind of forget or deletes us from our physical existence will give you more joy. You can try it out. I'll give you a practical example. I'm sure most of you must be going to do some service. You must, you if not, then you must do it. Service is the easiest and the best way to engage oneself and enjoy and experience these sparks of divinity. So when we are really helping and feeding homeless people, or shelter home people, or whatever, you will find that a state will come, if you're genuinely doing it, that you will really not mind what is happening to you. For example, once we had gone to feed a special needs school, and there we had some really challenging children around us, and it was a lunch break, and we were feeding them, and there were some children who needed help even in feeding directly. So I noticed some person was, when she was feeding the child, the saliva was falling off, and it was coming onto her hand, and without any change of expression, she was just wiping it and continued feeding. It was a very beautiful sight to look at, that how do we forget everything. We don't care for infection or touching each other or salivas. Can you imagine if you feed somebody and his saliva comes out on your hand? You will start screaming. But somehow in that scenario, a natural tendency of fulfillment, of sacrifice, of broad-mindedness, of acceptance, everything just comes naturally. So when I asked, did you realize that you were exhibiting such a beautiful acceptance? She said, yeah, but I don't mind. Why didn't she mind? The point was very simple, that experience, actually what benefit we provide to the person by feeding little food, but what we get from them is much, much more and higher than what we receive, what we give. So we might have fed them one morsel or one meal in a month, but what they give us would feed us maybe for probably for a lifetime. They have given us the experience of broad-mindedness. They have given the experience of oneness, of acceptance, no bias. We don't mind even if the saliva is thrown on us, even if they slap you, if you don't mind it. Why does it happen? Because this experience itself deletes you from your physical existence. You don't even care whether the food falls on your body, and you don't have to worry about your dress. You don't even mind anything, because the consciousness of your personal physical being is deleted, and now you are going into different realm of yours. Your body is just being used as a tool to serve, but what you are working from is from different koshas of life. And that is why we are able to enjoy different joys. So when we enjoy joy or happiness from a physical sense, it is said, even in scriptures, it is written in Vedic text. I don't have to recite that, but I can tell you there's an Anandavalli which explains very beautifully that what we experience physically, if you multiply it 1,000 times, that is the experience of joy. 1 unit of that is equivalent, 1,000 times is 1 unit of joy for demigods. And if I use that Manomaya Kosha, the people who live on that mind state, they are demigods. One who are absolutely in your, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, they are gods and other elements or other higher beings. So they say even that whole thing of 1 unit is of next. So imagine the joy which the absolute feels is like million times less what we feel in this physical realm. So this is a broad outlook or a perspective which will help us to understand how much is there to explore in life. So when we spend 10 hours, 12 hours slogging it out just for bread and butter, just for comforting this physical body, be assured that that is not going to give you ultimate fulfillment in life. Because physical realm is still only one aspect of our personality, of our being. And unless and until we learn to move from the physical to other realms, we will not be able to justify even this beautiful life bestowed on us as a human being. Because it's only as a human being we have the ability to to like cross over this physical boundaries and experience the joy and happiness which is truly our heritage. We are, as Anandamaya Kosha says, we are the Satchit Ananda, we are the true consciousness and bliss. But we cannot experience it unless and until we learn to get out of the physical gratification. So even if we are working in professional world, we are working in the personal life or wherever, the consciousness should be, how do I serve? If feeding one person once time can fill us with so much of joy, imagine if my life becomes a service, then what a joy I would experience all the time. And that is the lesson I would request, I would suggest, humbly offer, which we can take it from the koshas. And understanding them itself will give us further, elaborations. And from there, let me look at the physical body, because we are always into this physical realm most of the time. But a very interesting stats which our master shared with us, and I thought you will enjoy that, how this physical body has come together. What is it made up of? And this was a very beautiful structure. This is made up of few things, and let me put it bigger for you. Yeah. So it is made up of you know the iron. You have the nails, two nails, iron nails, six lead pencils, six pencils, full size pencils, and lead, six leads. If you take the strip of leads, six pencils, then we have five soaps, like you have Lux soap or any of such bathing soap. So you can take the bathing soap size. So five of those. Sorry, what is happening? Okay, little bit of sulfur. They say a little bit of sulfur. Then 900 grams of phosphorus and a bucket of lime water. Add to that, it's got miles of pipelines, tubes. This is all human body is made up of. So if you look at it, the way we are spending so much of energy, time, and resources to keep this body healthy, it's a decorated garbage bin we are carrying every day. It has, if you leave it just unattended even for 24 hours, it will start stinking. We need to take bath, we need to clean it up every day. Now, such a garbage bin, we even dump dead bodies into us. So we make it a burial ground. Now, even if I avoid everything else, what I look at it, why then we consider this body as important? Why do we consider it so holy? Why do we give it importance? It is because this body holds that secret of Anandamaya Kosha. This body is the temple, or is it that abode? Is it that which holds that supreme consciousness in it? So because of that, when you put a diamond in a small box, the box is not important. But because the diamond ring is inside, that box gains value. Similarly, this body is not that important. Is come, it will go. You cannot hold it. But the body becomes important because what it holds inside is the key. So in our life, unless and until we focus on the diamond ring, which is inside, we can keep the box clean. We must keep the box clean. We must keep the box worthy of the diamond, no doubt about it. But fully be aware that the diamond is what gives value to the box, not the other way around. It is the diamond which is the most precious, and diamond can be replaced, put in different boxes. We don't mind if the box is replaced, but diamond should remain there, correct? So similarly, this body is very important, but it is only important as long as it holds that diamond of consciousness. And because of that, we need to understand how to play with it, how to prioritize our life. Physically, if you look at it, this is what the human body is all about. There's nothing more, nothing less. This is the human body. But what is hidden inside is precious. This is Annamaya Kosha. Now we have got 4 more layers to dissect. Even the Annamaya Kosha, if you explore, that is mind-boggling. And I tell you honestly, when I talk to my medical friends and even my science friends, they are in awe with this creation. In fact, I find them more spiritual than spiritual, so-called spiritual people, because they look at the mystery of the creation in our body. Who tells this heart to beat at that segment? When you prick this body, the blood stops automatically. If you just keep it holding it, blood stops. Who tells the veins to close in? That is the beauty of this creation. Who tells when we are running fast, the heartbeat slows down? What is this phenomena which regulates this? Even the Annamaya Kosha is so beautiful and mind-boggling that even if we contemplate on that Annamaya Kosha, that itself is going to take us to a very different realm of living and life. But unfortunately, pampering it all the way and diverting all our attention towards that is the cause of disequilibrium, is the cause of imbalance in this world. So if only we can learn, if only we can understand and keep this secret in mind as we move forward, then the whole purpose, the whole approach towards profession, whole approach about life and living would change, and it will become much beautiful. And now if you look at it, now take this same scenario and put it in your any scenario of your life or living. And then you see how the approach changes. How do I look at my employees? How do I look at my work? How do I approach my people? How much of weightage should I give it to X work and Y work? How much of weightage I should give it to one role and another role? Every one of us play multiple roles at a given point of time. But unfortunately, we are tossed like a shuttlecock. Everybody pushes us. Sometimes the spouse will pull your one leg, sometimes your children will pull another one, your employer, employees, society, relations, families, everybody will keep tossing us. But we don't realize how do we stop it, and we get confused, and that is how the dilemmas arrive, because we are chasing and trying to understand how do I balance, and we give it a name of responsibilities and obligations. No, it is only because we have not understood who we are and how are we supposed to conduct. People can say whatever they like, but I will react only when I'm needed to. And that will possible only when I know who I am. So this information which I've shared, I pray it helps us to understand how to look at life, how to approach life. Because now I understand how to prioritize myself. How do I take my profession life? How do I balance my personal life? How do I give time to my family, my children, my society, and myself? So let me throw a last thought at all of you. I don't want to see, there's a lot of things I'm sorry, I'm not getting into too much, because man management is a full philosophy, a course. In fact, I'm getting some requests to even do that as a proper course. And I am actually considering that, because sitting in COVID scenario, we can virtually do a lot of things, because there is so much that we can share with each other. And honestly speaking, I learn from everybody. And these are not my findings. I'm just fortunate to assemble it and whatever little I have able to grasp and practice, I'm just sharing with all of you. So I will see how we can proceed further, and all based on your feedback. So if you like what you're hearing and you would like to join my exploration, so welcome to write to me or put a comment suggestions, and we will certainly look at it and take it forward from there. So I wanted to just we have few minutes left, and I wanted to just close and tell you that this whole experience of man management, it may seem like I'm talking or we are sharing about us per se, and how it will help in my sales, in my handling with clients and all that. But trust me, all that solution is there. It is a phenomenal science. The moment I understand human psychology or human beings per se, the balancing act becomes very easy. In fact, many problems disappear. They don't even, there is nothing to solve, because when you have a problem, then you solve. But when you remove the cause of the problem, then the question or the need for solutions of the problem doesn't even arise. So this approach or this philosophy or this science which the master has given is that tool which actually removes the root of the problem. So problem doesn't come, so the talking about the solution of an hypothetical problem doesn't even arise. So this is how the beauty of the man management arena is. And obviously I have really scratched the surface. I call it an introduction, but it is actually not even the full introduction. But I would be looking forward. So if you have any questions, I have few more minutes. So if there's any question, you are welcome to present it here. I'll just take a minute to look at the comments, and if is there anything. If anybody wants to say something, in fact, from the next session, I'll try to do a Facebook Live just to interact with all of you. And if you want to come to the studio and ask, have a discussion, you're welcome for that. And we will break it up into sections. We can do, I'm getting so far suggestions in parenting. I'm getting suggestions in terms of man management, practical spirituality, and such and such topics. So please feel free to let me know. Great. So yeah, I had some more things, but I think it is enough for today. So thank you very much. As there is, so I will be in touch with all of you, and if you have any suggestions or things, please feel free to send it to me. So thank you very much for this lovely opportunity to share, at least introduce you to the concept of man management. And I hope this information which I've shared will be helpful, and it'll be beneficial for all of us. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.